Hello everyone, I am KateKruzan, and you might notice I look a little different today. Today we are making a new little original species series. They will be called PandaPuffs, and what makes them special is their puffs. Their puffs vary from each design theme and characteristic, but the puff is the big collar around their neck. There are no rules to this species. I know using the term species can kind of be odd territory for some in the art community, so keep in mind this is all for fun, and if you want to take inspiration and make your own panda puff, please do so. I am not a gatekeeper. However, I do intend to use this series to make some adopts, so in today's video I am only making mascots for the PandaPuffs. These characters are characters I am keeping, but on my shop channel for the next few days or weeks, I will be releasing Series 1 of the PandaPuffs. There will be 12 total, and these will all be up for adoption. So if you want more character design content, exclusively adopt character design content, go check that out. I haven't been working on that channel too much, and is still in the first stages, but we gotta start somewhere. And I will no longer be posting any adopt character designs on my main channel. I want to try and keep my main channel to just my characters that I keep and put stuff that I sell on my shop channel. For today's puff mascots, I want to do some emoji designs. What that means is I will generate 2 random emojis. I'll link the emoji generator I used in the description, and I will apply these 2 emojis to our panda puff designs in whatever way I see fit. That doesn't mean I need to be exact to the emoji, it just needs to inspire it. Even if it doesn't necessarily make sense, we just want to get something cool and unique. I love doing emoji customs, and I have done them in the past. I even offer emoji customs on my Ko-fi if you are interested in that. I do make those pretty close to the emojis. But the first design we are doing today, we will be using these emojis. So let's get into it. Now, when I was first working on the species, I did 2 concept starter ideas, and Moonbug was one of them. I'll throw up the concept art on screen, but when I did this, it was just too simplistic and I needed to practice more varying features and just making it more fleshed out. Even though I want these to be more chibi and cutesy, I still want them to have good, unique character features. I want them to have just as much flavor as any of my other designs would, but applied to the chibi cutesy style I'm using. I would actually more so call this my bean-eyed style. It follows more stupid nature, bean eyes, stubby arms, and legs, just silliness all around. So following our 2 emojis, we have the moon and we have this 8-bit bug. Taking some inspiration from the moon, I decided that cutting his design in half, like the moon, would be a cool way to have representation of that moon. I can also give him one closed eye and keep his smile to one side. For the left side, I am sticking to more blocky, rounded shapes to mimic the 8-bit look, but nothing too sharp though. We still want his character to be round overall. For the body, I decided that his bug half would have this bug-like striped and rigid shape to it. I am no bug expert, and I will not be Googling bug pictures to figure out what it's called, but it reminds me of the cicada husks that you find outside in my area. They kind of have that like rigid, they're gross. I don't know what to call them, but in this design, it will be cute. It will also give him a bit more of a bee aesthetic in my brain because we add some fun stripes that are darker and then yellow, a dark purple and a nice yellow. So it looks kind of bee-like. Now for me, it's pretty obvious the pattern that we need to apply to the moon side, and that is those like big cheese holes that the moon typically has, but we're not gonna overdo it. We're gonna simplify it to a certain degree, but keep it still nice and busy. So we're gonna have 2 different yellows, a darker one and a lighter one, to give it that nice, fun contrast. And I really like it. I love these colors of yellow. I think they're very cheesy and cute, and I think they also match the purple very well. I did use, I'm pretty sure, the exact colors on the emoji, which honestly, oftentimes I get 2 emojis and the colors don't match together, but these match so perfectly. I mean, I guess they obviously do because color theory, purple and yellow, it just makes sense, but these I find very delicious. Since we are making the left side very blocky but still round, I want to add a nice 8-bit blocky pattern into the puff. I actually really like this pattern and it's so easy to do. I just take my little block tool. I don't know what you would call it. It makes not perfect squares, but it makes blocks and you can just drag it. And I just go ham with it until I get like the most aesthetic arrangement of blocks that I can possibly get. It's one of my favorite little patterns to do because it's so easy and so fun. And it's also great for an 8-bit look or like something that's related to technology, cyber, anything like that. It's really cool. To match the busy pattern that's on the left, the stripes, and then that 8-bit like cube pattern I do in the puff, I want to add a somewhat of a busy pattern on the right side as well to add some balance and harmony. So I go ahead and make a star pattern because we have a moon. Why not add the stars? It just makes sense. So I make a simple star pattern and it, you know, creates harmony and balance within the chaoticness, I think at least. Now, throughout this process, I actually learned I like to change the line art colors for my PandaPuffs specifically, and I rarely do that in my normal character designs because since my normal character designs, there's so much like more anatomy, there's so much more like going on overall. I don't like to do line art changes too much. There are some characters that are exceptions, but for PandaPuffs, since they're so like chibi and cutesy and small and their palettes are decently limited, I like to change their line art colors to make their color palettes like be even more cohesive than they would be with like the black line art. Then my last few steps was adding some dots, like particle dots on the right and left side, because I felt like that would really make the whole thing, like the finishing balancing touch is like this pattern being on both sides. And I think it looks really, really nice. I think it really fits with the bug and the moon theme. And overall, I'm really, really proud of Moonbug's design. I'm very happy that I didn't like give up on these species because when I did the concept art, I was feeling really bummed out because I didn't get it right the first time. But like, hey, how many times do people get it right the first time? Been there, done that, but I didn't. And I followed through and I changed his design to what it is now. And now we can have his official PandaPuff. And here is a final look at Moonbug's design. I really, really like it. He turned out great. My actually only complaint about Moonbug actually has to do with the next design we do. I accidentally did 2 purple and yellow like tone designs for the mascots, and since I'm only making 5, I made 5, right? 1, 2, yeah, 5 mascots today. I wanted them all to be a bit more varying in color. So I accidentally did 2 purple and yellow designs, but other than that, I really, really like Moonbug. I'd say my favorite features is probably his left bug side. I think it looks really nice and very kind of pinata-like. I didn't notice that until editing this video, but he's kind of looks like a pinata. I do think his tank top on the right side could be maybe a bit tacky, but I don't think not having it there would be better. So maybe he'll get an update in the future if I think of something cooler. But other than that, I think he's really rad. For the next puff, whose name is Nightlight, they are in a similar boat to Moonbug, meaning they both got a bit of a concept rough sheet. But for Nightlight, I gave up relatively fast. However, I knew I would come back to it, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me. But I do really, really love the 2 emoji prompts for him. I'll pop them up on screen. One is the sun setting over a city, and one is this weird line thing. It kind of looks like a telephone pole, and that's the only thing I can kind of see it being. But once I seen that line emoji, stitches were the first idea that popped into my head, and I can't not do a zombie design after that. Or maybe he's a plushie? The possibilities with this one are so fun. But for sure, we can't not do stitches in the design. We are doing another half and half design, which I did not realize is similar to Moonbug in that way until just now. So I did 2 characters for mascots that are half designs and have similar palettes. I really didn't mean to do that, which is really funny because they're my first 2 ones I did. You know, at least they look nothing alike. I can say that, but I really did not intend to do two half designs with the same palettes, and they both kind of have like that star theme. Whoops. Now for Nightlight's puff, and I will say this is definitely one of my favorite puffs in like the whole collection, like this specifically. And for his puff, we are going to be putting the cityscape of those buildings. Obviously it's going to stay simplified to the emoji because I don't want to overdo it. But we're going to put the little cityscape and the sun setting on the puff, and I think it looks so cool. And this is like one of the examples why I love doing emoji challenges so much, because I would have never thought to put this onto a character if it had not been for this specific challenge. I think it looks so rad, and there's so many like combinations you can do and cool things you can get out of different emoji sets. I just particularly love the look of this. It's so pretty. I'm also like not great at landscape stuff, so like the simplified version, it kind of is like I actually did something maybe kind of landscapey this week, you know what I mean? Because I'm not by any means good at landscape or backgrounds, but this is just so fun and unique and cool. Now for the rest of the design, I feel like it's actually very straightforward and not like too complicated and like kind of predictable in a way, but still really cool and unique. For the right side, I want to have a spot for the sun, and I want to have a spot for the moon. So kind of like the day shifting to night and then night at the bottom. So on his face, he will have that circle, you know, the panda circle around the eye. That will be the sun, and we will have a gradient in the back to kind of look like the setting sun. And then at the bottom, we will have a nice moon, stars, and littler stars. And that will be the right side, and it will maintain some like sort of busyness. And then the left side will be like a place to rest your eyes in the design, a place that's not as busy, very much more mellow, not too many things going on, and that is just having the one white-ish purple color and his one row of stitches, and that's it. We want, since the middle, top right, and bottom right are so busy, we want to have at least one spot that you can rest your eyes, and that is the left side. I did take a while and play around with the idea of putting like freckles or particles on the face, but that just ended up too busy. There were a few things like I tried back and forth, but I did end up landing on this design, and I really like how Nightlight looks. I also really like that he has no left ear or arm. That was very intentional. I was kind of intentional with making Nightlight a zombie, but when I was editing this and writing the voiceover, I kind of like the idea of him being more of a plushie. I don't know, comment what you think it would be more unique. I think my idea for the zombie was because like it's like night in the city, it's like spooky out, like a zombie kind of makes more sense than him being a plushie, but I like the plushie idea because he's cute, round, and adorable. So that's kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of torn between the two. So if anyone leans towards one or the other, let me know in the comments, because I would like some feedback on what like outside interpretations would be. And here is a final look at Nightlight's design. I really love Nightlight's design. My favorite parts is definitely the puff. I just love the landscape idea on the puff. I think that's so cool and unique, and it just, you know, he screams Nightlight. Like, I feel like he fits his name to a T. I also love the bottom right, like, moon section. I always love adding like particles or polka dots in like a variant, and let's be real, it's gonna happen. Like, I'm going to add it to a lot of designs, and this is no exception. I feel like maybe something's missing on the right side of the face. I'm not sure, something maybe could be there, but I feel like that's me nitpicking. I really love that he has no left arm or ear. That's really cool. Yeah, my only complaint is just like the last one, I didn't mean to make two mascots with very similar color palettes and also them being half designs. Since I'm making mascots, I'm trying to make a good variety of colors, especially if I want to make like a banner of like, here are my 5 mascots for the PandaPuffs that are examples of like characters you could adopt. I'm like, it's not great that I made the first 2. They're not similar in design, but they're similar in specific characteristics, which happens, you know, that happens in character design, but they look totally different, so I guess I can't really be too hard on myself. However, again, I love Nightlight's design. Very cool. For this next design, we are shifting gears from drawing boys, ew, and we are going to draw a cutesy girly pop. The emojis we are using for this design is the pink boots emoji and the happy cat face emoji. So we can already tell that boots is going to be a big feature in this design. And do you know what goes great with large boots? A tiny cowgirl hat. Yes, that is truly a match made in heaven. So this design will be a little cowgirl, and her eyes are going to have little cat wings. So her eyes will be actually different shaped than the other PandaPuffs, and she will have whiskers on her cheeks. To go with the cowgirl theme, I'm going to add the star that is often used for sheriff badges, and add that onto her design in various balanced places. So we'll add one on the little hat, we'll have a big one in the middle of her chest, and we'll have a nice cool star pattern on her puff, which is what makes her puff unique. She's going to have these like nice star patterns throughout it, and then she's going to have one on each of her boot. Now her name is Pow, and that is actually because of this little star pattern she's got going on. And it's because I think it looks a lot like the, what's the word for it? The POW emblem you see in comic books. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, but that's why I named her Pow, because I thought that was just so fitting with this specific star pattern she has going on. And also she's a cowgirl, kind of like almost has a little sheriff energy. I think it really suits her. And just like I mentioned for Moonbug, we are going to be changing the line art for Pow. We actually didn't do that for Nightlight. I didn't even realize that. I think the black line art really suited Nightlight. But regardless, for Pow, we are going to change her line art. And I think that's what really makes her design so pretty in the end and just go together. And I love a good pink design, and Pow is just a good example of that. And to make sure I can replicate that pattern on Pow's puff in the future, or at least just make it easier for me to do, I'm going to make a pattern page of that little Pow symbol and put that into her files on my computer. I will also probably put it on her toy house if anyone wants to draw fan art of her. It's one step that you don't have to do that, you know, is easy for me to just like set aside, because what's the point of doing it over and over for like art for her? If I'm doing it every time, why wouldn't I just save it? You know what I mean? It just saves time. It's just a smart thing to do, and I'd actually recommend that to anyone who has a character with patterns on the character's design. Now for the final touches on Pow's design, I added yellow stripes at the bottom because I felt like it needed more yellow, and I also take the Pow marks and I add one on each arm, and they kind of like remind me of scars, which I think kind of plays into her idea of maybe being like a little rootin' tootin' sheriff. You know what I mean? I think that is really cute, and it looks kind of Scar-esque, so it adds to her tiny bit of rugged nature. But again, she's pink, she's cutesy. How rugged could she get? She's adorable. And that's pretty much it for her design. Here is a final look at Pow. I really, really like her. My favorite part of her design is probably her tiny hat, and I also think her puff. It's so like, there's parts of her design that are so simplistic, and yet they work in such good harmony, even with like the color palette and like the touch of line art, or the touch of pink in the line art. I think it really sells it for me. Like, she's so like so solidly simple and yet like perfect. I can't even put it into words. I just think it's so cool. I think maybe for improvement, I could add a little more pink into the line art, maybe around the puff and the star. I think my intention was to do that, and I maybe had forgotten, maybe. But I think adding pink in the line art around the Pow, the Pow in the middle, and the puff and the boots at the bottom and the hat, I think that would maybe be an improvement. But I love everything about Pow. I think she's really, really precious. This next PandaPuff design really takes my breath away, and it is my favorite in the whole mascot collection. Not that we have that big of a range of characters, but this one is truly so unique and has a cool, grotesque aesthetic to it that I just love and adore. The emojis for this next design are the freezing face emoji and the realistic heart emoji. Using these two emojis together is such a cool combo, and thank you to McKean Twins for being my emoji picker for this one. The first 3 characters I did use the randomizer, but to mix it up I had Chrissy pick the last 2 prompts, so this one and the next PandaPuff will be because of Chrissy, so thank you to her for picking them. And if you would like to, I don't know, help pick the PandaPuff emojis in the future, feel free to comment 2 emojis or a collection of sets of 2 emojis. That would be really cool. But now thinking about how I want to apply these emojis to the character's puff, so the puff around the neck, I thought that the heart itself would make a really unique puff. I can even add the tubes and the vein texture to it. I can also make the body itself be the main place for the blue and ice, having the heart and other accent features be red. This will give us a beautiful and stunning contrast in colors. For the accent heart features, I actually thought that even making the right ear a similar shape to the heart would actually be rather easy. I thought about maybe making the left ear the same way, but I want to add tubes onto the heart puff, and if I put both of those, the ear and the tubes, it would make it all too busy. So we're gonna chop off his ear, and I think that solution really gave us the best silhouette and makes his silhouette look much more distinct in a lineup of PandaPuffs. To help convey the freezing emoji, we will be adding icicles just like the emoji has. But I'm also going to add this egg-like ice shell to the lower half of the design. This will make it kind of look like he is freezing from the feet up. Some fun features I thought of while thinking about what it would be like to be frozen or be freezing is adding Frostbite to his hands and feet. Now, I don't want to make this dead black when we go to color, but we will make it on the redder side, kind of like blood in the coloring, and make it as dark as the palette allows. I don't like using dead black because sometimes it will draw your eye to it, and I don't want the hands to be the focal point of the drawing. I want the heart puff to be the focal point of the drawing, so I try to stay away from dead black. The other feature I thought of, since we're talking about the term frostbite, I decided to take that literally by adding blood teeth marks throughout the design. These features helped me also decide on his name, that being Frostbite. It just makes sense. Sometimes the names don't need to be like generic like Tom or Jimmy. We can have a fun name, and I'm trying to avoid normal names for the PandaPuffs, fun and out-of-the-box names or titles that suit them much more. I also don't want to necessarily use up names that I would use for other character designs that are for like my comic series, because more normal names will make more sense to them, but for the PandaPuffs, I feel like it actually generally makes more sense to have something that isn't like normal, because they're unique. On to coloring. This was actually much trickier than I expected. I thought I could use the same emoji colors and have them lay down perfectly and apply them in the exact same way I intended when I did the line art. However, it didn't really work that way. Now, I didn't get off of what I intended in the design. It was just a totally backwards way I had to apply it and work through it. Those colors, while being contrasting colors themselves, the red and blue, I found it hard to get contrast in the blue colors alone and make it harmonious with the red. The light blue and the white light blue just weren't enough by themselves in comparison to the 3 red colors I picked, and I really learned that the hard way, but it makes sense when you think about it. I use a red palette of 3 colors and then tried to use a palette of 2 blues. This character really works best when you apply a palette of 3 for both colors, and it makes sense in a harmonic standpoint of having 3 and 3, not 3 and 2. It really helped the harmony of the design. While trying to balance the character and the colors, I had a very hard time just laying down the pattern and feeling like it looked good. I kept trying to lay down this vein pattern and really ended up nowhere and erased it several times. Then eventually I figured out what I was doing. I was looking at the design in separate segments instead of looking at it as a whole. I should have been laying down the pattern where I wanted it, especially since I realized I was having a hard time, and then altering the colors from there. Oftentimes, if I know what I'm doing, I don't have to lay down the pattern right away, but since I was having such problems with it, I should have taken a step back and done that sooner. But I kept focusing at one spot at a time, and working in one spot at a time is actually something I recommend, and I actually recommend it quite often, but I was so minute with it, I was just so lost to what the bigger picture is. And I think that has a lot to do with the different emojis and how different they are in themselves. It's kind of hard to marry those two images together, freezing blue and like a blood heart red theme. I kept thinking of them separately, which made me think of the design in separate segments rather than as a whole, which really makes sense. That makes sense to why I had a problem with this specific character specifically in that regard, when it's not really too much of a normal problem for me. This also led me to making a pattern page for the character to lay down that base texture and then figure out the colors from there, which, don't get me wrong, that helped the color balance so much, because from there I was like, oh, this color goes here, this color goes here, this color goes here, and it was so much easier than me trying to lay them down by hand. And I definitely could have drawn the pattern page a little bit cleaner. There's some spots in like the line art where it's like a little silly, but I do think that's a bit nitpicky, but it bothers me just a little bit, just enough to where I'm like, maybe I could have done that better, or should have done that better, because I definitely could have. And from there, I can kind of study it in more of a section by section base way and make sure the colors are harmonious, which I do actually have a few critiques on, but I'll do that when we look at the ref sheet. And I just tried to balance the colors best I could. Again, the color I had the most trouble with was that darker blue, but I managed to get it in the end, so it was okay. And I really like this character. I think he's really, really cool. And I love his palette. I think his palette's so pretty. Here is the final look at the ref sheet. This is my favorite PandaPuff by far. I think it's a very KateKruzan character, and I feel like it actually pushed me a great deal. This, combining the two, while kind of seems easy, applying it to a PandaPuff a little more challenging than expected. My critiques for this design, and there's actually quite a few, and it would be actually really interesting if I revisited this character and kind of dove deep section by section more than I did, because I do not want to take more than like one art session on a character design, especially since I know after I'm done with it, no matter how long I spend on it, I might have something I want to change or alter. And when I make changes or alter them, I don't necessarily feel like that's changing the character. I say a lot of times that I don't really change my characters after I design them, which is true because the changes I make are so small or minute. Like, it really never changes the true character itself. Do you know what I mean? Like small choices in this design. I want to make a lot of smaller choices. Like, one of my critiques is that darker vein pattern at the bottom of the design. I just want that somewhere towards the top of the design. I don't necessarily think that'll look good in the icicles, but maybe it would look good in the icicles. And there's like that specific lighter pink color is not in the bottom of the design. I could have put it on his feet like I did the hands, but that is supposed to be like an icy shell, so I don't necessarily want to do that. It's small stuff like that where I'm like, I need to think of a small way to incorporate that color in the lower part of the design that are just like small changes I want to make and just refine, and not, you know, that's a great word, refine. I should really apply that to my character catalog of words, my vocabulary, because I do always say, like, I never really change my characters after I design them, but I definitely refine them. And this is one of those characters where I'm like, I really just want to take a while in refining, because I really do love Frostbite. I think he just sings to me and speaks to me as a KateKruzan design in and of himself, and that's probably because he's a red and blue palette, and I'm a sucker for a red and blue palette. But my favorite part definitely has to be that heart puff around his neck. I think the thing I like about it the most is that secondary vein texture that goes right on top, and I think that's something that might need to be in other places of the design because I like it so much there. I wonder if I took that light blue, not the white light blue, the light blue from the middle part of the design and put it in the bottom in cracks as well. I'm wondering if that would give us a bit more of harmony in that stripe balance. This character has so much potential. It just needs refinement. And I'm going to write home about that for this character. He just needs refinement. He's so rad and so cool, but he'll get there. I'm going to keep him for a long time. And now for our last panda puff, Raph. Raph is my least favorite, not because she isn't cute, but because she's the simplest and is the one I spent the least amount of time on. The emojis for her is the giraffe emoji, which is where she gets her name, Raph, and the green shorts emoji. When making her design, I knew I wanted two things, giraffe spots and big shorts. And that's what my goal was for her design. I did take the easy route for her puff and make it fur, but since none of the other puffs are like that, I think it's okay to take an easy and simple route for Raph. Something Raph has that is unique is her giraffe hooves and helps the giraffe shine through. She also has a few other giraffe-like features, like those little horns that giraffe has, and the giraffe tail. And I do know that she doesn't necessarily read giraffe, maybe more like a lion because it's mixed with the bear, but we know her true intention, so I think it's okay. It'll be like an inside secret. The color palette is very adorable and solid. I love the stripe edition. I took inspiration from the seams of the shorts for that. Overall, Raph doesn't shout to me, but she is like the sweet treat you would put on a cupcake, the little extra addition to the mascot group that makes the whole thing sing a little more. I think something I truly like more about Raph than I like about the others is that when I look at Raph, I can see a personality. I see someone who might be a little bit rebellious but mothering. I see someone who likes to be out in the jungle. I think her characteristics actually pretty read well through her design, and I think that might lack in the other designs where you have to kind of dig a little deeper. But I think Raph is one of those characters you can actually really judge by her cover, and I think she really reads that well, and that might be because she's more of a simplistic design and it works to her benefit. It works really, really well. And when you have a group of really extravagant characters, it's always good to have one character that takes it easy or slower. Because if every character you have to really delve into and dive deep into every single character, there's really no room to have for a break on your brain. And Raph is a great representation of that in the group. I think Pow could also be that representation to agree, but I think Raph more so is that representation than Pow. And here is the final look for Raph's ref sheet. I really like Raph. Maybe one critique I have for her is that there is only that little like gradient around her head on her puff. I think maybe a gradient would be good somewhere else in the design just to make it not stand out too much. I did test the waters and see if I liked it without the gradient. I actually liked it better with the gradient, but going back, I think maybe we should find one more spot for a gradient, maybe under the mane as like almost casting a shadow. But Raph is a solid design. I really don't have much complaints. She's simplistic, she's good, she's cute. I like her. And that is all for today. Thank you for joining me. And if you want your own panda puff, you can go follow my shop channel where I will be posting them regularly, or you can go commission a custom panda puff on my Ko-fi. But that is all for today. Be sure to tell me which panda puff was your favorite or what changes you would have made if they were your characters. Remember to do justice, love kindness, and to walk humbly with God. I love you. God loves you. Stay safe.